even I'm still learning too. So this is actually beneficial for me too, Brian. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So,
yeah.
All right. So we're live on YouTube, just waiting for the official tick of the hour for X. But yeah, no, this is going to be good.
Yes. Oh, we're losing Greg.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's all right. I think Brian knows his product. All right. So we are live now. I'm here today with the ChainStats team. We got Brian and Greg, and we also have Matt. Last week's stream was pretty exciting. I think we broke records, and maybe today we'll break some more records.
Yeah, it was great. Like it was like 150,000 total or something like that. Yeah.
I think like before it ended, I think like live, I think it was something like 93,000 people. And so this would be a good like part 2 maybe of last week's stream, because so last week we dove into TA of all these American blockchains, and ChainStats is here to help people with tools. And what they provide, in my opinion, is next level. I mean, the order book and liquidation charts alone just give you like that edge that you don't necessarily have, and you don't need to be like a super expert in TA. I mean, it's the tools are so simple and easy to understand that right away you can see stuff. But beyond just the trading tools that ChainStats have, they have this entire platform. And we talked a little bit about it in October. Brian and I were talking about the platform just before they launched and went live. I think it was October is when you guys went live, right? Right when the token was released. And so this would be a good, part 2 as well for ChainStats. So hopefully, after today, people will get a better idea and understanding on how to use the tools, because it is kind of a different trading tool. But on top of the trading tools that are provided by ChainStats, there's this whole ecosystem that they have with chain guardians and the node portals and whatnot. So I'll let you kick it off, Brian, and maybe explain what exactly is ChainStats.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this space, Matt. Greg, thanks for joining. And just to set the stage for people that are listening in for the first time and not familiar with what ChainStats is, maybe I can set the stage and explain what we do. And at ChainStats, I look at us like an oil refinery. So anybody can go and dig a hole in the ground and find oil, but it's unrefined, right? And so in order to make it valuable, you need to refine that data. Just like anybody can go and spin up a node, having a node really doesn't do much for you until you contextualize it into making it a usable tool for people. And so that's what sets us apart from a lot of the different analytics platforms that are available today, is that we go up and spin up our own nodes across these different ecosystems. We turn that into valuable insights for people to use. If you are familiar with a lot of the other on-chain analytics platforms, I think one of the things that really stand out is that they all share the same sets of data and the same trading pairs, the same information. And usually that is because they're pulling data from the same node service provider. And so we took the harder path and built the infrastructure for it. And so that gives us the freedom and the flexibility to really customize that data set and to even spin up data sets for even boutique networks that I know a lot of our users are interested in. And so that gives you kind of a top-down approach as to what ChainStats is. We look at ourselves as like the oil refinery for Web3 data. And the beta platform that we just launched in October is our proof of concept, right? It's a beta showing you guys that, we can spin up these nodes across these different ecosystems and then put it into a usable tool that a lot of people can understand. And I think the biggest hurdle for mass adoption when it comes to Web3 analytics is just the complexity of it. And so just to kind of give you guys a walkthrough of what the dashboard of our platform looks like, you know, the inflows and outflows here, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of whale alerts. That's very valuable information if you use it correctly, right? So, you know, if people are sending large amounts of their tokens from their hot and cold wallets over to exchanges, that could potentially indicate a distribution event that's going to happen before it reflects on the chart, right? And then vice versa. If you see that outflow, it could potentially indicate a accumulation event that occurred. And so if you look at whale alerts, there's a lot of, you know, inflows and outflows that you see going on through the day. And most people aren't going to sit there and write in their notepads everything and then calculate it at the very end. And so we've really simplified that for you. So this information that you're seeing on our dashboard, it's actually being pulled in from our Bitcoin node and the aggregated wallets that we have in our database. And so we've really simplified it for you. So you can look at the inflows versus outflows, and the top number here is the net outcome on a 24-hour time frame. And then on the other side here, we have that for stable coins as well too. So more stable coin inflows indicates a potential accumulation event, and then heavy stable coin outflows indicates that, you know, maybe users are taking profits, or they, you know, want to be sidelined until they figure out what they want to do with those funds. Down here, it's just a quick view panel. This is a way for people to get a quick pulse on the markets. Again, this is data that's being pulled from our Bitcoin nodes and the aggregated wallets that we have. So you can see the exchange reserves. You can see here the inflows and outflows that was on the wheel above, but just in a graph form. And then you can see the stablecoin exchange reserves here as well. And down here, this is just more of a convenience feature for our users, so they don't need to open up like 20 different tabs, but you're able to see the market cap leaderboard all right here on the dashboard. And let me know if you have any questions while I'm going into this. But the order books here, I think this is what most people are probably tuning in for. And I've been in the space for almost 8 years now, and I started off using TradingView, using all the tools that were available there. But as I got deeper into the blockchain space, I started realizing that a lot of the tools that are available there, they weren't designed for researching crypto, right? And so the ChainStats charts that you guys are seeing was designed specifically to research crypto from an investment perspective or from a trader's perspective. You know, I've talked to a lot of different people who do technical analysis, and usually when they're first starting off, you know, they start learning how to draw trend lines on a chart, and, you know, often they're like, how come the price blew past where I had my support and resistance levels, whether it's from a trend line or from Fibonacci tools or whatever tools that they use in their arsenals. And a lot of that is due to just not knowing where the liquidity is. And so our order books really take the bid, the ask, and the spread that we pull directly from the exchanges using private APIs. And we overlay that onto a chart so that you can visually see where people are accumulating, where people are distributing, where their resting bids and asks are, and how much liquidity is waiting at those given levels. And so we tried to make it very simple. So just by looking at this chart, you don't need to be a data scientist or a professional trader to see that there's a lot of people waiting to sell at this given level. This isn't financial advice, but I'm just showing people how you can use these charts to visually see where all the liquidity is. So really simple. Anything below the current price is where the resting bids are waiting. And if you hover your mouse over these areas, you can actually read how much is being quoted at that price. And then anything above that current price is the ask. So that's where most people are setting their resting sell orders. And just underneath this is the aggregated CVDs. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with, you know, the RSI, the MACD, a lot of these momentum indicators. The CVD is, I would say, the Web3 updated version of what those indicators are. So CVDs, really simply put, we pull data from the exchanges, and there's two separate orders that you can do. It's either a limit order or a market order, right? And so a market order is people that aren't willing to wait. A market order. Yeah, I think that's where the echo is coming
We lost
from.
Greg.
But yeah, so the CVDs essentially is we're pulling the market buy and market sell orders, and we're aggregating that so you can see if people are buying from these market buys and market sells. So I think these are really great tools for people to use in conjunction with some of the stuff that they use. So Matt, I know you love your GAN lines, and
Yes.
you can use this in conjunction with some of those structures that you have to see, okay, you know what, I think this area might be a stronger area of support, because when I look at the order books, there's just a lot more liquidity waiting at this level, or vice versa on the ask as well too. So I hope that simplified or gave you guys a better understanding of how to use these order book charts.
Just for the audience too, so the far left numbers, that's the bid, right? Is that what the understanding is? And the middle is like the ask, and then the spread is the far right number. Is that correct?
Are you talking about these columns here?
Yeah, the columns. Yeah, just so that
okay. Yeah. So there's 3 columns. So if I move my mouse over to not the most recent candle, but several candles back, you can see 3 columns, right? The far right, I'm not counting that because that's just the price. But the left column is the previous candle. The center column is the area of liquidity that your mouse is hovering over. And the one to the right of that is the next candle. So if I move it over to the most recent one, you'll only see 2. So the center is the current candle, and the left is the candle before.
Okay. When I have mine on the daily chart, I see the 3 columns on the current candle. Does that change with the time frame?
There should always be 3. And so depending on which trading pair you're looking at, if there's less data on the charts, typically the higher time frames, it's because we just added that trading pair into our database. So the data starts to get stored from the day we integrate it forward.
And to give everyone a reset here, because now we have we're approaching 50,000 viewers here. So everybody should retweet out this space, share it, because the information that you're getting right now is super valuable. I mean, Brian is basically teaching everybody how to fish. And we're looking at the order book and liquidation charts, which are available to all ChainStat Pro members. The one thing that I was going to ask you, Brian, is the order book data, does that include like all the hidden orders? Because I know that a lot of times, so like if you go onto KuCoin, you can see their order book, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that's actually missing from what's like shown on KuCoin's order book.
Yeah, I don't even know if a lot of people are aware that KuCoin has this little feature that you can check that hides your orders from the order books. But to answer your question, yes, because we're using a private API through KuCoin, you're able to see even those hidden orders here on the order books. So full transparency, you're able to see everything if you use these charts.
Yeah, and like that in it of itself is worth every penny that you get. I mean, if you're here looking for trades, because it's all that hidden data that you don't know.
Right. And, you see people all the time. They're, just talking about Bitcoin as an example. It's very easy to visually see here. Price started to move up. And as soon as we started to sweep the ask is just another way to say sell orders. You can see that price rejected. Right. And then as price started to come down, I didn't need to use any other tools, but I could literally see that there was resting bids waiting in this order. And then you saw price bounce off of that range. and now it's absorbing a lot of these ask orders as well. So it really just simplifies the analysis.
And you don't really need to hover over too. You can just look at like the thickness of the lines too, correct? Yeah, to see where most of the volume is. Yeah. So if you want to see the exact numbers, I guess you can hover over it. But just by visually looking at it, you can see, okay, there's like a thicker line up top, like on Bitcoin up there. So yeah, there's probably a lot of sellers up there, and then vice versa on the downside too.
Yeah, and one of the core attributes of blockchain is the visibility into transactional data, right? So, you know, it's like for me, I look at people who aren't using on-chain analytics tools or these types of tools. You know, it's like trying to hammer in a nail with a shoe instead of using a hammer. You should be able to, you know, get a visual into what's actually happening with these transactions.
Mm-hmm. And you know, maybe we can jump into the liquidation chart and maybe point out the importance of that. You know, because that again is a tool that's available to everybody with a pro membership, right?
Correct. Liquidation clusters are very valuable in my opinion. So for the people watching this at home, how many times have you set a support or resistance line and you see the price shoot up just past it and then wick back down and then close below it, right? And a lot of that happens because, whoever wants to liquidate those futures positions, they see those orders, right? And so this gives you a visual of those liquidation clusters. And just like the order books, you can hover your mouse over it and you can get the actual dollar amount of liquidations that are waiting at those given levels. So the top side would be short liquidation clusters here. So from 103 all the way up to 104,000, that would be a short liquidation cluster. And then just below that, you have the long liquidations. So I like using these next to each other. So if I'm looking at adding some bids to a certain level, and then I see that there's a liquidation cluster just slightly below that, I might spread my orders out within those ranges.
So is it best, do you think, to use a lower time frame for this just because it updates faster than like maybe a 1 hour or a 1 day chart for the audience listening?
Yeah, so typically I look at the higher time frames like the 1 day and the 3 day, but when you look at liquidations, the futures traders, they like to change their positions more frequently. So I think that the CBDs and the liquidations are better used on a lower time frame. That way you're getting a quicker refresh of those orders.
And would you say if there's like really thick lines up top, then price usually likes to gravitate to liquidate those people? Is that what the observation is here?
Typically, that's what usually happens. Yeah, like you can see what happened here. Just recently. Yeah.
And so since there's not too many thick lines below, but there's developing more and more shorts up top, I guess their liquidation price could gravitate towards like the 103,000 and above sooner than later.
Yeah, and if there's enough liquidations above this range to create a squeeze, that's one way for people to start to predict whether there could be a short squeeze potential as well too.
Yeah,
as you can see,
it looks like one is developing right now. Yeah, in front of our eyes. Yes.
Yeah. Live with the stats data. I mean, so yeah, I mean, this is like a valuable tool that not a lot of people are aware of. That's right at your fingertips. And actually, the BTC chart, right, is available for free, right?
Yes. So we we've only been live for 2 months actually, and so the Bitcoin chart is available to all free users, but you can see that we've actually really started to add in a ton of different trading pairs that I don't think you even see in other on-chain analytics platforms. So our list is growing very fast, and so if you want data on all your favorite pairs, definitely join the pro. But also, one of the the biggest factors of being a stats holder is the ability to actually make requests and vote on certain integrations and features that people want added into the platform. That was one of my biggest pain points, right? I was subscribed to a whole list of different platforms because it was very fragmented. If I wanted order books, I had to go here. If I wanted net flow data, I had to go here. If I wanted liquidations, I had to go to another place. And then I ended up subscribing to a whole bunch of different platforms. And a lot of that was because they didn't have the data that I wanted all in one place. And so I really wanted to address that to create a better experience for our users. And so with the stats token, if you're a token holder, you'll be able to vote and propose different features, different trading pairs that you want to see on the platform, because at the end of the day, we're really building this for you guys to make it a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and up at the top of the screen there, you have chain guardians, and so like that's a separate deal than the voting, right? Than the voting mechanism, correct?
Yeah, and maybe I'll pass the mic over to Greg here pretty soon. But the chain guardians, in a short version, is our way of validating data. So I think if you guys were here at the beginning of this call, I talked about how we spin up our own nodes and turn that into usable insights. But the more decentralized our platform gets, the more validators we can bring on through these chain guardians, the more data sets that we can offer to our users.
Mm-hmm.
But Greg, if you want to dive in a little bit to the chain guardians and the second part of our ecosystem, because this is really forward facing for our end users, but for the node portal and the chain guardians, we do service also Web3 innovators, developers, and even governments who want to utilize the data that we pull in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another thing that I wanted to sort of get in right on because outside of like from a retail perspective, right? These analytic tools are really important for institutions and governments, and you can kind of see that on your thing because there's a separate pricing model for enterprise level, right? It says like, please contact or something like that, right?
So yeah, I'll jump in here. Yeah, so that's definitely the kind of future plans and like different use cases for on-chain data. As kind of I think we all realize that there's so many potential use cases for on-chain data besides kind of investment and analysis, and that is what that node portal is geared towards more of those enterprise and potentially government use cases, and it really started with kind of the idea for ChainStats in the beginning was we wanted to build out these analytics, and we wanted data directly from blockchain nodes, and how do we accomplish that from a business perspective, and then Brian came up with the idea of being able to put, a Web3 business model for a Web3 analytics platform. So that's kind of one of the core ways that we really differentiate ourselves is, it's not just a kind of Web2 model of a top-down approach but it's actually kind of decentralizing the way that we source the data for these analytics, kind of from the ground up. And that's really what the chain guardians are. And they would be able to kind of contribute on-chain data to the platform. That's where in that diagram there, you'll see kind of the node data coming up to the node portal. And that's what powers both our analytics, and then it gives us the ability to enable Web3 developers, or like I talked about, kind of institutions or government agencies that want access to raw blockchain data. It's kind of just a different outlet that we can use to monetize that data. And we don't want it to just be all the value flows into ChainStats, but people who are running these nodes on different networks, it gives them an additional way that they can monetize that data that they currently have access to and are not really doing anything with. So it even encourages more people to run nodes across different blockchain ecosystems. And really, our hope and vision is that it kind of encourages more people to run nodes and further enhance decentralization. So
yeah, and you guys have nodes like on multiple networks, right? And so this is where you're getting the data from these various blockchain networks, and it's all, you know, in one place, right? And so that makes it super valuable for people that are looking for advanced analytics from multiple networks.
for sure, yeah, and kind of like Brian was saying, kind of a one-stop shop for all of the different ecosystems that you would want data from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, so for like, you know, for like a government, for example, or like an enterprise, these tools are pretty valuable, right? Because you can see trends and network activities, right? And so it can sort of support the stuff that maybe they're thinking about.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add something here too, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are kind of overhearing talks about AI, but it's a huge use case. And when it comes to AI, your output is only as good as your input. And so, as a lot of these AI or companies and government entities are building out these AI agents, they can tap into the data that we have to better train these agents as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talked a little bit maybe about the node guardians. Maybe we can dive into that, right? Like you need stats tokens, right? And maybe Greg wanted to dive in a little bit and explain, you know, how that works, and like how somebody like whoever's listening right now, if they wanted to become a chain guardian, like what's the process like?
Sure. So we the first part is to have 75,000 stats tokens, and then you would register with ChainStats. We would send you one of our Chain Guardian NFTs to, you know, authenticate that you are now part of our ecosystem as a Chain Guardian. And as long as you have those stats, you're able to kind of validate data on the network and would participate in our validated reward pool. So we do regular distributions of stats tokens to those chain guardians, and so you're able to earn stats as the platform grows, and be able to contribute more and more stats to that validated reward pool. But currently how we have it is 1 million stats will be distributed per year to those chain guardians.
Yeah, and then here in the white paper, this is just reinforcing what Ryan was talking about earlier about the voting rights. So, you know, if a lot of the holders want data from you know, whatever chain that isn't currently listed, I mean, you can do that. The other thing here that's pretty interesting is the fees from the platform are being used to buy back stats tokens. So that again, I think you know, just reinforces the utility of the token.
And I think that that's really a way for us to kind of facilitate, you know, give a kind of a Web2 user experience to Web3 users who, you know, would like to pay for the platform, and instead of paying with stats, you know, we will, you know, buy back stats from the market to kind of, you know, facilitate that ease of access. So instead of paying for the subscription in stats, you know, we would buy percentage of those tokens to kind of keep that going through the ecosystem. But the idea is to kind of create a almost circular economy for the ChainStats ecosystem.
Yeah, and so Brian, you talked about like the AI tools, and that's on the Stats platform right now. I mean, there's that little box there in the corner that I don't know if a lot of people have like interacted with. But so how does that work with stats? Because here it says that the stats token is used to pay for queries. So if I wanted to do like some more in-depth stuff, it's the token is required. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's going to go into effect with the pro version of the AI that we have built in. If you guys follow me on maybe some of my other social channels or in our Discord, you've probably seen little hints as to who we've been working with, and that'll get announced soon. But essentially what that AI agent is doing for our platform is, one, really simplifying the onboarding process for new users. I think more and more people are going to see Web3 adoption. And so with that is the onboarding process for a lot of new users. And a lot of them have a lot of questions. I would argue most people don't even know what a blockchain is, but they know what crypto is, right? And so the AI is there to really just answer questions and to help ease that onboarding process of asking things like, how do you read an order book? What does liquidity mean? What does a Fibonacci do? How do you read or use these tools? It's there to answer those without having to jump to different screens. Another side of that we're working on is really just tracking, labeling, clustering, and looking at confidence scores when it comes to these entity wallets. And so that's another portion of our platform that isn't available yet, but it's something that we're already training our AI models to do, because unless you've tried to build out one of these platforms, I think one of the quickest things you'll realize is these exchanges don't give you that as an API. They're not going to give you their wallet addresses. So it's a very tedious manual process, but AI, again, will automate that process for us. And so that's another feature that we're adding in. And so this version that people see is the free version, but there's a pro version that will be embedded into the platform when we release V1 and phase out of the beta phase.
So yeah, so like this version that people are seeing right now. So I'm sharing my screen, and there's the little chat box. So that is the AI agent that's on the platform. So the pro version is coming, but so for those people that have access to the platform, like right now, what is this agent able to do?
Just answer simple questions that they might have. You have a Telegram group, Matt. You have a group as well too. I'm sure you get a lot of questions on, hey, where's the best place I can go to research technical analysis, right? That's a very common question that we get. Or how do you know what these candlesticks mean? So all of those things is just kind of aggregated into one place.
Okay. So then let me go back to the white paper here. Yeah, I think we went over this just about the chain guardians and the 75,000 stats tokens, and the token is live right now, right? It's on is it Bitmart? Is that where people can go?
Yes.
Yeah.
And is that available for US citizens? Just curious for the public.
Bitmart is not, but the XRP has their own native DEX that people can use.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like right now you talked about the roadmap. So like right now it's the beta, and then phase 2. This is coming up. This is like what you were talking about, the pro AI functionality, correct?
Yeah. V1 is, we're taking all the feedback from the beta and then improving that and really polishing up V1 before we release that. And so you'll see all of those things mentioned in there.
Mm-hmm. Let me check the chat here. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to cover about the platform itself, but you know, I mean, the level of data that you guys offer, even for free, is pretty mind blowing, in my opinion.
Yeah. You can go check any other platforms, and a lot of the stuff that we're offering for free is, you know, being charged. And so, you know, there's a little bit of education to it, but I think once you actually start to dive into like these order book charts, you'll quickly realize it's actually a lot easier than your traditional tools.
So now I've got Matt's screen, and so he's been playing with it in the background, and maybe Matt, maybe you can show that you know, how this data kind of confirms with the tooling that you use and you show on a daily basis.
Yeah, like with my Telegram group this morning, I was like showing them that support was holding nicely for Bitcoin and it's likely to go up. And with like this order book here, you can probably just see that there's a big block order right there at like 105. So I think price could probably just keep eating through these sell orders until it gets to that big block up there. So that's kind of like confluence that maybe he just wants to keep going up. And then also with the liquidation too. Now I have a question, Brian. So this liquidation is just for the Bitmart. It's not for other markets, right? Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, we're still adding in more trading pairs to that chart.
To the liquidations, yeah, because I noticed on the order book you have like Coinbase, you have KuCoin, you have other things, but I think the liquidation is only Bybit right now, correct?
Yeah, and not all of the trading pairs that we have in the order books have a futures trading pair option, and so for some of them you might not get it until they actually, you know, make that available to their end users.
Okay. But yeah, then I pull up like the daily chart for Bitcoin. Then I see like it's just eating through all these liquidations right now, and that kind of goes up towards that 105,000 zone as well. So that's like just more confluence that I think it's going to break into all-time highs sooner than later. So this is just an added benefit, I think, to what I'm already using. So it's really, really nice.
And so the Bitcoin is available for all users. Maybe we can dive into like one of these altcoins. So let's pull up Alchemy for example. So Alchemy recently had a pretty good
you have
run.
to go to the order books.
It's not on liquidations yet. No.
Yeah, and what's interesting about Alchemy is their transactions did like a 4x, which to me is I think gonna show that we're pretty soon possibly gonna have a price run, just because of how that platform works. And for those people that are tuning in and listening, if you don't really understand like Alchemy and their platform, they're an advertising exchange that is adding transparency to advertising. So publishers and advertisers all bid on slots, and so these transactions that are happening on their exchange are placements of ads, right? And so what Alchemy does is they take 100% of that revenue that they get from advertisers and publishers, and they use that to buy back the token. And over the past, I would say, week or so, they had like a 4x in the volume of transactions. So like a week ago, they were doing like 2 million transactions a day. and now they're creeping in to like 7,000 transactions a day. I mean, 7 million transactions a day.
Hey, Matt, if you want to make
Yeah.
the order book show the data a little bit more, you see that granularity slider to the top right?
Yeah, right here.
Just slide that back and you'll start to see more of that, the data.
Like slide it back all the way, or how much?
Really, that's just user preference. But if you slide it all the way back, you'll see a lot more.
Oh, there we go. The granularity.
It's too much.
Yeah. That's way too much. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah. That's actually a cool feature. So you can just see the breakdown better. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can even change the color theme too. So like if you see the button next to the camera right there to the right, if you click that, you can even turn off the grids and then you can change the color theme.
Default. Yeah. There we go. I like the default. Yeah, so you can just see it just sandwiched right in between some order books there, like up top right there at 40.95, and then down below at that 37.65 level. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, if this order book gets broken, I think the 0.4095, then it could probably just continue higher to the next one, possibly around 4.4. Yeah.
Yeah, and that that kind of coincides with the stuff that you've shown with your charts.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a lot of resistance above around that 42, 43, 44 cent zone. So yeah, once that gets broken, it just makes sense that things would just continue to gravitate higher. So lots of confluence with this, and I do actually love it a lot.
All right. So we have 85,000 people here, which is pretty amazing for a Sunday afternoon. And you saw here that, we're probably going to get new all-time highs with Bitcoin because that's what the data is showing.
Yeah, and it's already 103,300 basically, so it's almost all-time highs now. Like in the beginning of the show, it was like 102 something, and we're like, yeah, it's probably going to gravitate towards all-time highs because of this data, and sure enough, that's exactly what it's doing. So,
so Brian, like, where can people go if they want to find out more about ChainStats?
They can go to chainstats.pro. They can join our Discord. And if I might add, we are doing a raise. And so if there's any angels that are watching this that are interested in joining our ecosystem, please feel free to reach out.
All right. And is there sort of like, I know people don't really like, like time frames, so to speak, but is there sort of like a window? Like when can we expect this update? Like in Q1 of next year, or that's like 4-month window, or
actually, in Q1.
In Q1,
yeah,
okay. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff is happening in Q1, but yeah, I mean, just the beta platform itself right now is like amazing. I mean, like what is available right now outside of the AI stuff is pretty amazing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So before we go, any predictions on like how high this is going to go?
Well, I see that large order block 105 for selling Bitcoin, so I think maybe it could gravitate to there. Well, this is ADS, but going back to Bitcoin on the daily chart.
Bitcoin daily.
Yeah.
So what do you say? What did you say? 105?
Yeah, like there you can see there's almost just on. Well, this is KuCoin here. Let me go back to Coinbase where I originally was. You can see, well, actually, there's even more up top too. Yeah, there's one. Whether it got, I think it got moved up. No, it's at 105. Yeah, right there. 16.65 million up there. So I could gravitate there, but it might be struggling to break 105.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So we could see all-time highs today.
Yeah. And that'd be great for a weekly candle close too. So if it does close at all-time highs, that would be closing a week above resistance of the 103,600 that I've been talking about for a while. So that would be very, very bullish for the future. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
New support.
And this is also good for a lot of those charts that are in blue skies where there is no data or historical data for them to draw trend lines on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but this is amazing confluence just to get this real-time order book, real-time liquidation, just because it really helps on which way price might gravitate towards. So I think a lot of traders could benefit from this, and especially when more and more pairs get added, you can see everything from like XRP liquidations and order books to even the smaller coins too. So it's really going to be beneficial.
Yeah, maybe before we head out, because I think we're going to see new all-time highs with a lot of tokens. So maybe you guys could both sort of dive into how this tool can be used for that, right? Because you're going into uncharted territory, right? And then so it's like, okay, well, how do I know if this is the top or not, or what I should watch out for?
Well, I think you got to use it in confluence with the other TA skills too, like with the fibs, with everything out there. You can't just rely on one thing. I think it's all about the more confluences, the better. But if you see a lot of support getting broken and then a lot more sell order blocks getting lower and lower and lower, then that could be in confluence that things might be topping out a little bit. But right now, I don't see any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we shall see in a couple hours if we break all-time highs.
Yeah, well, let's find out. I mean, the weekly candle close is 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, so let's see if it can do it.
All right. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And if you wanted to go follow ChainStats and their Discord, right? And then is Discord pretty much the primary spot you want people to be funneled into?
Yeah, Discord is usually where a lot of our community members hang out, but we do have a Telegram for those that aren't familiar with Discord. They can see it on our website. There's a link there.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. All right. Appreciate you guys' time, and maybe we'll see new all-time highs today.
That'll be exciting.
All right, everybody. Take it easy.
All right. You
All
too,
right.
Devin.
Appreciate that.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Just let me end it. End stream.